Hello everyone, it's Trevor at Peak Potential Physiotherapy and Wellness here in Collierville, Tennessee, coming at you live again on Thursday to answer any questions that y'all may have and also to review the blog that my lovely bride put up, who's also a physical therapist, earlier this week in regards to golf. So wanted to let y'all know I will link to the blog below in the comments, and please ask any questions as we go along if you have questions, or we can answer those if you're watching this later on. So please put them in the chat below and I will answer them as we go along. But this time of year, everyone's got golf fever around this area. One, because of FedEx Classics coming in. I've already seen the fences put up and everything, so it gets me excited. But what I wanted to discuss today, 3 most common golf injuries and how any golfer can avoid them. So that's what we're first going to talk about, and then if you have any questions we can go off from there. But as y'all know, I might go off on my tangents as we go along, and we can answer questions along those lines too. So again, I'm Trevor from Peak Potential Physiotherapy and Wellness. I've been practicing as a physical therapist for over 12 years now, and we've been in the Collierville area for about a year and a half, maybe a little bit more. I've been in Memphis for about 10 years, but out here in Collierville and being able to serve this community has been great. So please ask me any questions that y'all may have. So most people think golf is a leisure activity. I mean, most people are going around and they're older or anything like that who may be playing golf, but it also is a young person sport. You're watching the FedEx St. Jude Classic, and there's those young guys out there who are going to be winning and those sorts of things. So we see a lot of golfers come into the clinic because it's a lot of wear and tear on your body that you're not realizing. But it's hardly that we see them very acutely, so meaning right when they have a problem, because it's not an excruciating pain that you have. It's a ache, it's a stiffness, it's something that's not moving right. That's what you'll feel with golf or with any other injuries. You just are hoping that it goes away tomorrow. So there's these things that just kind of come up, and you're just like, oh, it's going to go away tomorrow, or I'll do these stretches I found on YouTube or after I Google it. Okay. I actually just had a very long conversation with someone earlier today who has been through physical therapy, who felt 40-50% better and just wasn't where she wanted to be. And so I was like, well, why don't we just see what we can do? Because we get a lot of people after they've been through physical therapy before, be it a golfer who's seen a coach or seen another specialist and hasn't gotten the results they want, and hasn't been able to get to the 18th hole or even to the 9th hole, or hopefully the 19th hole, where they can actually have some fun with their friends afterwards. Because golf not only is a sport, it's also it's a community that you join. So golf, even though it's a lot of it is a leisure activity, it's a lot of stress on your body. Most people who know and who play golf put up with the injuries, again, because they're just little nagging things here and there. But most of them want to and expect to play through their entire life. So you might start off as a kid, but you want to be able to play into your later years, into your retirement, that sort of thing. So in order to do that, you got to take care of the machine that's doing the work. You got to take care of your body so that you can do what you want to be able to do. Sorry, let's see if I can actually see if there's any comments coming up. I think it's not coming up right now. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat below. So the problem with golf is that it involves a lot of different positions. It's not designed, the body's not designed to have that kind of torque on the body, on the spine. So the temptation is to also just hit the ball as hard as you freaking can. You got the driver out, you just want to hit it as hard as you can. However, that puts even a lot more stress on the body, and the body starts to compensate. And compensation for the body is great. It's very good for you, but it only is good in the short term. In the long term, you start breaking down other things. So you might have a little tightness in your hip, and you might just leave that go, and then the knee is going to start actually hurting because something around it you've locked down to protect, because it was just a little ache or something like that, and then something actually started being painful because it was doing the job that it's not supposed to do. So the forceful, kind of even awkward twisting motion is going to put a lot of stress on certain parts of the body, usually the upper back, the hips. That's where you get your motion from. But then people come in with back pain, and they're like, okay, well, just treat my back. But that's where you have to look at the global picture. Okay, what's not moving correctly? And that's what we do as our movement specialty, is let's look at the body from the head down below, and why is it not doing what it's supposed to be doing? So you're probably wondering, what are the 3 most common injuries, right? So the 3 most common injuries that happen in golf that you can avoid if you are diligent in what you do are back pain, golfer's elbow or elbow pain, and ankle injury. Some of those are a little surprising. You're like, how can my elbow or my ankle be involved with golf? But you know, those things can be involved with golf and can be a nagging issue. Hey Dean, it's good seeing you. Haven't popped up here lately in a while. But those are the 3 most common injuries that we see with golf. And again, is putting a lot of torque on things, and we'll go over each one to make sure you don't have any questions. But the problem is, again, it's not an excruciating pain. It's just a little nagging, achy, stiff, sometimes tight, muscle that might just be going around, just be nagging you. And then over time, you start getting those reps ins, and it starts irritating you. And then by the time you get to around getting it treated, you can't play anymore. Or you've gone from 18 holes to 9 holes, or you've gone from 9 holes just to being on the driving range. And then you go from the driving range just to being on the putting green. And then finally you realize, I haven't played golf in so long. So a lot of people don't have time to play golf, but they want to get to it, and then when they do, they go out and go full bore, and then something happens. All that can be treated. So back pain. So think about the golf swing. You're going back all the way and you're going forward all the way. It's a lot of twisting. So the body's made to do that, but it is an unnatural movement as far as normal motion. And it's the reason why it takes so long to be a very good golfer. It takes practice makes progress, is what I like to tell my kids. It's not practice makes perfect, because everyone's body is a bit different. You can't have an ideal and say, I'm going to do that. Practice makes progress. So you need to have the right swing for yourself and the right mobility for your body to do that. So with the spine, the lower back especially, not being designed for that torque, you have to get your motion from your thoracic spine or your upper back, and also your hips. That's where a lot of the motion comes in. So since your back is not normal for that rotation, and when teeing off you're putting a lot of torque through it, you want to make sure that you have the best mobility that you can. And also it gets worse when you get older. And when I was a kid and I played, I had no problems. Now if I go play around a golf, I'm like, I know I'm going to be sore tomorrow. But if I can do the things do the activity that I'll talk about later, is then you can prevent that from being as bad. Number 2, golfer's elbow. This is the opposite of tennis elbow. And you can get it with not playing golf and with not playing tennis. But it is pain on the outside of the elbow, okay? No, sorry, reverse that. It's pain on the inside of the elbow, because when you're coming through on your swing, that's where you're putting the torque. So you'll get some pain when you're gripping the club with that. And it's just an overuse type injury. The tendons on the inside of the elbow get overused and you create a tendonitis. But again, by the time that we get to it, it becomes a tendinosis or a chronic issue. So the symptoms of this can include just having a stiff elbow, increased pain in the area, or weakness when you're making a fist or trying to turn your hand. And you could even get tingling in your arm. So don't be overly concerned about that, thinking, well, even with a disc or a nerve, you can still be treated. But that's where we come in. And so you can always jump online, send us an inquiry form, no hassle on that, and that comes directly to me, and I'll be able to answer those questions for you. So number 3 is the ankle injury. How does the ankle get involved with that? Well, what attaches to the ground? Your foot and ankle. Your ankle is a very mobile joint, okay? So what you have to be able to do is have the right mobility in that to be able to do your swing, because then you're twisting a lot on that front ankle. But the most common injury that we see with ankles is kind of an Achilles injury, because one, you're walking up and down hills, you're on that kind of uneven surface, and then also you're having to decelerate yourself and be able to stabilize your ankle with that Achilles tendon. So the point when you hit the ball, that impact is when you're putting a lot of torque through your ankle and through your Achilles. So that's where this will eventually break down if you're not having the mobility in your ankle and the length in your Achilles tendon. So all of these injuries are more likely to result when you have excessive or result of excessive or constant movement, the torsion, the gripping, all that you have. And so if you go to the driving range and do it too much, you can create this type of stuff. But what can you do to avoid this while playing golf? The best thing for you to do is a warm-up. And I know it's cliche, warm up before you do something, but it works. But you have to commit to being able to warm up. You also have to commit to being able to cool down. So yes, you play 18 and you want to get to that 19th hole with your buddies, but you or your gals. Sorry, we also had the article about golf is for women now too, or it has been for women, but more women are playing it. You need to stretch a little bit afterwards as well. But the best thing to prevent those three things are warming up properly and knowing what to warm up properly too. We talked about that last week in the Facebook Live, is how to warm up properly, how to stretch and do your mobility work, so that you can actually swing and not put too much torque on things. All right. So warming up prepares the muscles and tendons and the ligaments to do the activity that you're about to do. I'm sure you can Google and do all that stuff as far as golf exercises, but all those things are needed with your golf swing. So commit to warming up 5 to 15 minutes so that you can actually get enjoyment out of your round of golf and have a lower chance of injury. So if you feel like an injury is coming along, if you feel that tightness, that ache, that stiffness, even a little bit of pain, but it seems to go away, but then it comes back when you play again, that's where we come in. We're that second line of defense as a physical therapist. We can get you in and look at your movement patterns, see if you have the mobility in your spine to be able to do that, or give you the specific mobility exercises you need to do before golf. I had someone yesterday who I evaluated who said, well, do you mind if I go play Friday? I was like, hey, that's a good test. So he came in with some, he thought was sciatica or hip pain. We checked it out and we were able to do some things to decrease his pain, but then we saw that he had no motion in his upper back and very limited motion in his hips. Two big things you need in order to swing the golf club without straining other things. So we got him in, we gave him a couple mobility exercises, just a couple things to do before he plays tomorrow, and then we'll be able to check back in with him next week to make sure that we're ticking off those things that you're going to be able to do in order to prevent these three most common injuries. So that's what we can do as physical therapists. You can come in, you can fill out the no obligation inquiry form, we can talk to you about what's going on, and be able to allow you to play golf or to get started playing golf if you're young all the way through, or if you're starting to play golf because it's nice outside, or getting that bee in your bonnet with seeing the FedEx stuff occur, that you can get in and get a few rounds in or a few holes in to feel like you're one of the pros too. But if you have any questions, let us know. I'm going to link to the blog below, and please comment or ask any questions that you have, and I will answer those when they come up. But it's been great getting to spend time with y'all again. Again, I'm Trevor with Peak Potential Physiotherapy and Wellness here in Collierville, Tennessee, and look forward to seeing you next week, okay? Hopefully we'll see you next week. I know it's a short week. I will be posting something to help you along your way. Thank you. Oops.